A 3-year-old girl from Pennsylvania receiving treatment for a chronic illness vanished from her hospital bed in the middle of the night, leaving medical staff baffled and her parents devastated. 2 years of searching yielded nothing but heartbreak and unanswered questions about how a sick child could simply disappear, until maintenance workers deep in the sewer system stumbled upon something that had washed through the storm drains, a discovery that would reveal the darkest secret imaginable. Nathan Hartley stared at the spreadsheet on his laptop screen, the numbers blurring together as he tried to focus on the quarterly budget report. The house felt too quiet this Tuesday morning, the kind of silence that had settled into every corner since Mira vanished 2 years ago. He took another sip of lukewarm coffee and forced himself to concentrate on the columns of data. The sharp ring of his cell phone made him jump, coffee sloshing dangerously close to the keyboard's edge. The number on the display wasn't familiar, a local Pennsylvania area code, but not one he recognized. For a moment, he considered letting it go to voicemail. These days, most unexpected calls were either telemarketers or well-meaning acquaintances who'd heard about Mira and wanted to express their sympathy years too late. But something made him answer. Nathan Hartley. Mr. Hartley, this is Detective Patricia Walsh with the Pittsburgh Police Department. The woman's voice was professional but carried an undertone that immediately set his nerves on edge. I need to speak with you about your daughter's case. The laptop screen went forgotten. Nathan's hand tightened around the phone until his knuckles went white. In 2 years, the calls about Mira had dwindled to nothing. The case had gone cold. The investigators moved on to newer tragedies. What about it? Sir, I think it would be best if we discuss this in person. Can you come to the station? We've had a development that requires your immediate attention. Just tell me. His voice came out rougher than intended. Did you find her? Is she... Detective Walsh paused. This morning, a crew doing maintenance in the sewer system near the Allegheny River made a discovery. They found items we have reason to believe belong to your daughter. The room seemed to tilt. Nathan gripped the edge of his desk with his free hand. What items? A wheelchair, Mr. Hartley. A pediatric wheelchair with an oxygen tank still attached. The serial numbers match the equipment listed in your daughter's hospital records. Nathan closed his eyes, and suddenly he was back in that hospital room 2 years ago. He'd gotten up at 5:30 that morning, like always. Nicole had worked a double shift and was sleeping hard beside him. He'd showered quietly, dressed in the dark, and driven to UPMC Children's Hospital, planning to spend an hour with Mira before his morning meetings. The elevator ride to the pediatric ward had been routine. He'd nodded to the night nurse at the station. She was reading a magazine, looked tired. Down the hall to room 314, the one with the butterfly stickers Mira had insisted on putting on the door. He'd pushed it open, already smiling, ready to see his daughter's face light up when she saw him. The bed was empty, not just empty, abandoned. The sheets were pulled back, her stuffed elephant fallen to the floor. The monitors that should have been recording her oxygen levels and heart rate were dark, their leads dangling uselessly. Her wheelchair, the blue one she'd decorated with superhero stickers, was gone. For a moment, he'd stood frozen in the doorway, his mind refusing to process what he was seeing. Maybe they'd taken her for tests. Maybe she was in the bathroom with a nurse. Maybe. But the growing commotion in the hallway, the sudden convergence of security and staff, the frantic checking of other rooms, all of it confirmed what that empty bed was telling him. Mira was gone. Mr. Hartley? Detective Walsh's voice pulled him back to the present. Are you still there? The wheelchair, he managed. You're sure it's hers? The serial numbers match, and there are personal modifications that align with what you reported, the superhero stickers specifically. Sir, I need you to understand. The wheelchair was found in a section of the sewer system that connects to several storm drains. Our forensics team is examining it now. Nathan's mind raced. The sewers? Why would Mira's wheelchair be in the sewers? How long has it been there? That's what's unusual. Detective Walsh's tone grew more careful. The maintenance crew chief, he's been working these tunnels for 15 years. He says based on the condition and the sediment patterns, the wheelchair couldn't have been there more than a few weeks. Maybe a couple of months at most. It appears to have washed in during the heavy rains last month. But she disappeared 2 years ago. Yes, sir. That's one of the things we need to discuss. The evidence suggests the wheelchair was disposed of recently, dumped somewhere upstream and carried through the system by stormwater. The implication hit Nathan like a physical blow. Someone had kept Mira's wheelchair for 2 years, then suddenly decided to get rid of it, which meant, "I need to call my wife," he said, already standing, looking for his keys. "We'll be there as soon as possible." "Of course. Ask for me at the front desk. And, Mr. Hartley, I'm very sorry. I know this must be incredibly difficult." Nathan ended the call and immediately dialed Nicole's number. She was probably sleeping after her night shift, but this couldn't wait. As the phone rang, he grabbed his jacket and headed for the door, his mind spinning with questions. Why now? Why dump the wheelchair after 2 years? And most importantly, what did this mean for Mira? Was his daughter still alive somewhere? Or was someone finally cleaning up loose ends? Nicole answered on the 5th ring, her voice thick with sleep. "Nathan." "What's wrong?" "They found Mira's wheelchair in the sewer system. The police want us to come in right away." The silence on the other end stretched for several seconds. Then Nicole's voice, fully awake now and sharp with a mixture of hope and dread. "I'll meet you there." The Pittsburgh Police Department's evidence room smelled of industrial disinfectant trying to mask something worse. Nathan stood beside Nicole, their hands intertwined, as Detective Walsh led them past rows of metal shelving to a cleared examination area. Under the harsh fluorescent lights, on a blue tarp spread across a steel table, sat Mira's wheelchair. Nathan's breath caught. Even caked with sewage and sediment, he recognized it immediately. The blue frame was dulled with grime, but patches of the original color showed through. The oxygen tank, still secured to the back, was tarnished but intact. And there, barely visible under a layer of dried mud, were the remnants of superhero stickers. Spider-Man's red mask, Captain America's shield, Wonder Woman's golden lasso. "Oh, God," Nicole whispered beside him. Her grip on his hand tightened painfully. Detective Walsh stood on the opposite side of the table, her expression carefully neutral. "I know this is difficult. Can you confirm this is your daughter's wheelchair?" Nathan nodded, not trusting his voice. He reached toward it, then stopped, looking at the detective for permission. "You can touch it," she said. "We've already processed it for evidence, photographed everything, taken samples." His fingers found one of the stickers, Batman's symbol, partially scraped away, but still recognizable. Mira had placed it there herself, insisting on decorating her chariot, as she called it. She'd been so proud of how it looked. The maintenance crew found it lodged against a grate about 2 miles into the tunnel system, Detective Walsh explained. Based on the debris patterns and watermarks, our forensics team estimates it washed in during the heavy storms last month. But here's what's significant. Look at the overall condition. Nathan forced himself to examine it more clinically. Despite the sewage coating, the wheelchair's frame showed minimal rust. The fabric seat, while stained, wasn't rotted through. The oxygen tank's valve mechanism, though dirty, appeared relatively intact. "It hasn't been in water for 2 years, Nicole said, voicing what they were all thinking. She was using her nurse's voice, analytical, detached, the tone she adopted when dealing with difficult cases at work. "Exactly." Detective Walsh pulled out a tablet, showing them photos from the sewer. "If this had been in the system since your daughter's disappearance, we'd expect to see significant deterioration. The metal would be severely corroded. The fabric would be gone. Instead, what we're looking at is equipment that's been stored somewhere dry for an extended period, then recently discarded." "Someone kept it," Nathan said. The words felt heavy in his mouth. Someone kept her wheelchair for 2 years and then just threw it away? That's our working theory. The question is, why now? Why keep it this long only to dump it? Detective Walsh set down the tablet. We're checking all storm drains and access points in a 5-mile radius, trying to determine where it entered the system. We've also issued a BOLO for any similar medical equipment turning up. A knock on the door interrupted them. A uniformed officer leaned in. Detective, the medical consultant is here. Dr. Kellner? Send him in. Walsh turned to Nathan and Nicole. I took the liberty of calling in a specialist to examine the equipment. Dr. Kellner was your daughter's pulmonologist at Children's Hospital. He's agreed to help us understand if the oxygen tank was used recently. Check for any modifications that might tell us more. Nathan remembered Dr. Kellner, a quiet, professional man who'd always taken time to explain Mira's treatment in terms they could understand. He'd been one of the few bright spots during those long hospital months. The door opened again, and Dr. Kellner entered. He looked much as Nathan remembered, mid-40s, graying hair neatly trimmed, wearing a conservative gray suit rather than hospital scrubs. His eyes went first to the wheelchair, then to Nathan and Nicole. Mr. and Mrs. Hartley, he said softly. I'm so sorry you're going through this. When Detective Walsh called, I came immediately. Thank you for coming, Nicole said. We appreciate it. Dr. Kellner moved to the table, pulling on latex gloves with practiced efficiency. He examined the oxygen tank carefully, checking the gauge, the regulator, the connection points. This is definitely hospital-grade equipment, the model we used for Mira. He paused, running his fingers along the valve. The seal's been broken recently, within the last few months, I'd estimate. If this had been sealed for 2 years, we'd see different oxidation patterns around the threading. So it was used? Detective Walsh asked, taking notes. Recently used, yes. The pressure gauge shows it's nearly empty. That suggests active use, not long-term storage. He looked up at Nathan and Nicole. I'm sorry, I know this raises more questions than it answers. Nathan stared at the wheelchair, his mind reeling. Someone had taken his daughter, kept her somewhere for 2 years, used her medical equipment, and now, for some reason, they were getting rid of evidence. What does this mean? Nicole asked Detective Walsh. Are you saying someone had her all this time? The detective's expression was grim. We can't draw definitive conclusions yet, but the evidence suggests... She paused, choosing her words carefully. The pattern we're seeing is consistent with someone disposing of evidence. Often perpetrators do this when they're preparing to relocate, or when the victim is no longer alive, Nathan finished. The words felt like glass in his throat. Detective Walsh nodded slowly. I'm sorry, but yes, that's one possibility we have to consider. We're going to need to go through everything again. Everyone who had access to Mira, anyone who might have had motive or opportunity. Dr. Kellner, we'll need your records from her treatment as well. Of course, the doctor said. Anything I can do to help. Mira was a special little girl, so brave through all her treatments. As they prepared to leave, Nathan took one last look at the wheelchair. Somewhere out there, someone knew what had happened to his daughter. Someone who'd kept her wheelchair for 2 years, who'd recently used her oxygen tank, who'd finally decided to throw it all away. But why now? What had changed? Nathan stood in the spare bedroom they'd converted into medical storage, staring at the shelves lined with supplies they'd accumulated during Mira's illness. Boxes of pediatric masks, sealed packages of tubing, bottles of saline solution and medications, thousands of dollars worth of equipment that had become part of their daily routine until that morning 2 years ago. He picked up a box of medications, checking the expiration dates. Most would be good for another few months, but some were approaching their limits. The irony wasn't lost on him. Holding on to these supplies had been his way of maintaining hope, of being ready for when Mira came home. But after this morning's revelation at the police station, that hope felt more fragile than ever. Nicole had returned to bed after they got home, emotionally drained from the morning's events. She had another night shift tonight and needed rest. Nathan couldn't sleep. The image of that mud-caked wheelchair kept replaying in his mind. He started sorting the supplies into two piles, expired and still viable. The expired medications would need proper disposal, but the sealed, unexpired items, they could help other families. Other children with cystic fibrosis who needed these exact supplies. It felt like giving up, but it also felt necessary. He couldn't let medicine go to waste when someone could use it. By early afternoon, he'd filled 3 boxes with donations. The CVS on Grant Street had a medical supply donation program. He loaded everything into his car and drove the 10 minutes through light traffic. The pharmacy was busy for a Tuesday afternoon. Nathan maneuvered his boxes through the automatic doors, heading for the pharmacy counter at the back. As he rounded the vitamin aisle, he nearly collided with someone pushing a cart loaded with medical supplies. "Oh, sorry," Nathan began, then recognized the man. "Dr. Kellner?" The doctor looked up from his cart, which Nathan now saw contained several portable oxygen tanks, the same type they'd used for Mira's emergency backup supply. "Mr. Hartley, I didn't expect to see you here." "I'm donating some of Mira's unused supplies," Nathan said, gesturing to his boxes. "Seems wrong to let them expire when other families could use them." Dr. Kellner's expression softened with understanding. "That's very generous of you. I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision." Nathan glanced at the oxygen tanks in the doctor's cart. "Stocking up?" "For the hospital," Dr. Kellner explained, adjusting his grip on the cart handle. "We've had some supply chain issues lately, and these portable units are perfect for transport between departments. The donation stations are a godsend when our regular suppliers fall short." "I didn't realize hospitals could buy from regular pharmacies." "It's not ideal, but sometimes necessary, especially for smaller equipment." Dr. Kellner paused, studying Nathan with concern. "How are you holding up?" "This morning must have been incredibly difficult." Nathan found himself grateful for the doctor's kindness. "It's been rough. The not knowing is almost worse than knowing would be." "I can only imagine. Mira was such a special little girl. That smile of hers could light up the entire ward." Dr. Kellner glanced at his watch. "I should get these back to the hospital, but please, if you need anything, even just someone to talk to who understood Mira's condition, don't hesitate to call." "Thank you, and thanks again for coming to the station this morning. It helped, having someone there who knew her." "Of course. Take care of yourself, Mr. Hartley." Nathan watched the doctor navigate toward the checkout with his cart of oxygen tanks, then continued to the pharmacy counter. The pharmacist, a young woman with kind eyes, helped him process the donation. "These will really help families in need," she assured him, checking each item. "Pediatric CF supplies are always in demand." As Nathan filled out the donation paperwork, he found himself thinking about those oxygen tanks in Dr. Kellner's cart. It made sense what the doctor had said about supply chain issues. The pandemic had disrupted so many systems, and hospitals had learned to be creative with sourcing. He drove home feeling slightly lighter, as if donating the supplies had lifted some invisible weight. The house was quiet when he entered, Nicole still sleeping. Nathan made himself a sandwich and sat at the kitchen table, his mind still processing the morning's revelations. His phone buzzed with a text from Nicole. "Leaving for shift in 20. Dinner's in the fridge. Try to get some rest. Love you." 20 minutes later, he heard her moving around upstairs, getting ready. She appeared in the kitchen doorway in her scrubs, travel mug in hand, looking tired despite her nap. "You went out?" she asked, noticing his car keys on the counter. "Donated some of Mira's supplies to CVS. The medications were getting close to expiration." Nicole nodded, understanding without explanation. Probably the right thing to do. She paused, filling her travel mug with coffee. "Oh, I ran into Dr. Kellner at the pharmacy," Nathan said. He was buying oxygen tanks for the hospital. She stopped mid-pour, frowning slightly. That's odd. What is? Hospitals have strict procurement protocols. Everything medical goes through certified suppliers with proper documentation. Liability issues, quality control, chain of custody for insurance. She shrugged, resuming pouring. Maybe they had some kind of emergency shortage. Though usually they'd send a resident or medical assistant for something like that, not an attending physician. Nathan thought back to the encounter. Dr. Kellner had seemed perfectly normal, maybe a little harried. He mentioned supply chain problems. Could be. The whole system's been weird since COVID. She grabbed her bag, kissed him goodbye. Don't wait up. It's going to be a long one. 2 nurses called in sick. After she left, Nathan found himself alone with his thoughts again. The house felt too empty, too quiet. He tried watching television but couldn't concentrate. His mind kept circling back to that wheelchair, to the evidence room, to Detective Walsh's grim expression when she talked about perpetrators disposing of evidence. Somewhere out there, someone knew what had happened to his daughter. Someone who'd kept her wheelchair for 2 years. Someone who'd recently decided it was time to get rid of it. But why now? What had changed? Nathan couldn't shake the restlessness. The house felt oppressive in its silence, every room holding memories of Mira. He found himself in his home office, staring at the filing cabinet where they'd kept copies of everything from the investigation. Police reports, witness statements, hospital records. 2 years' worth of searching compressed into manila folders. He pulled out the file marked Staff Interviews, UPMC, and spread the papers across his desk. He'd read these dozens of times in those first months, looking for anything the police might have missed. Security guards, nurses, orderlies, doctors, everyone who'd been working that night had been questioned. There it was, halfway through the stack, Dr. Kellner's interview. Nathan read through it again, though he practically had it memorized. The doctor had left the hospital at 6 p.m. the evening before Mira disappeared, hadn't returned until his regular shift at 7 a.m. His keycard records confirmed it. He'd been home all night, though living alone meant no one could verify that. The detective's notes indicated no suspicion. Dr. Kellner was a respected physician with an impeccable record. Nathan set the paper aside and opened his laptop. Something Nicole had said kept nagging at him. Why would a senior attending physician be buying oxygen tanks at CVS? It seemed beneath his pay grade somehow, like asking the CEO to pick up office supplies. He typed Dr. Martin Kellner, UPMC, into Google. The first results were standard, hospital bio page, a few research papers on pediatric pulmonology, patient reviews. All positive. Families praising his bedside manner, his dedication to their children. Nathan refined his search. Dr. Martin Kellner, hospital history. The results shifted, a LinkedIn profile showing his employment history. Nathan clicked through, studying the timeline. UPMC Children's for the past 3 years. Before that, Cincinnati Children's for 2 years. Before that, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia for 3 years. And before that, Nathan frowned. 4 hospitals in 10 years? That seemed like a lot of movement for a specialized physician. Doctors usually established themselves at one institution, built their practice, their reputation. Why keep moving? He opened a new tab and searched Dr. Martin Kellner, Cincinnati Children's Hospital. Buried on the 3rd page of results, he found it. A small news item from 5 years ago. Cincinnati Children's Hospital announces administrative changes. Dr. Kellner's name appeared in a list of physicians whose privileges had been modified due to administrative restructuring. The language was vague, corporate speak that could mean anything. Nathan searched for Philadelphia next. This time, he found a medical board document, public record but obscurely filed. Dr. Kellner's privileges at CHOP had been suspended for 6 months due to failure to comply with institutional documentation requirements. Again, frustratingly vague. He kept digging. Riley Hospital for Children in Indianapolis, another administrative departure 7 years ago. Johns Hopkins Children's Center, privileges suspended for protocol violations that were never specified. A pattern. 4 hospitals, 4 administrative issues, never anything specific enough to impact his medical license, but enough to make him move on. Nathan felt a cold knot forming in his stomach. Nicole's words echoed, "Hospitals have strict procurement protocols." What if those documentation requirements and protocol violations had something to do with medical supplies? What if Dr. Kellner had a history of improperly obtaining equipment? Nathan found the UPMC directory online and located Dr. Kellner's office number. It was past 6 now. The administrative staff would be gone, but doctors often worked late. He hesitated, phone in hand. What was he going to say? "Hi, I noticed you've been suspended from multiple hospitals, and I'm wondering if you kidnapped my daughter?" But the image of those oxygen tanks in the pharmacy cart wouldn't leave him alone. Before he could talk himself out of it, he dialed. The phone rang 4 times. Nathan was about to hang up when a familiar voice answered. "Dr. Kellner speaking." "Dr. Kellner, it's Nathan Hartley. I'm sorry to call so late." "Mr. Hartley?" The doctor sounded surprised but not displeased. "Not at all. How can I help you?" Nathan's mouth went dry. He hadn't planned what to say. I was going through Mira's files, the investigation files, just trying to make sense of everything after this morning." "Of course, that's completely understandable. Finding the wheelchair must have brought everything back." "Your interview is in here, from 2 years ago." A pause. When Dr. Kellner spoke again, his tone had shifted slightly. "Yes, I remember. The police were very thorough. They interviewed everyone." "You were working that night, the night she disappeared." "No, actually, I'd left at 6. My shift ended." The warmth was draining from his voice. "Mr. Hartley, why are you asking about this?" Nathan pushed forward. "I've been looking at your employment history. You've moved around a lot. 4 hospitals in 10 years. The silence stretched so long, Nathan wondered if the call had dropped. Then, "I'm not sure what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything. I'm just trying to understand." "Understand what exactly?" Dr. Kellner's voice had gone cold. "The police investigated thoroughly 2 years ago. I cooperated completely. My whereabouts were verified. Are you suggesting they missed something?" "Those oxygen tanks at the pharmacy are for the hospital, as I explained." Each word was clipped, precise. "Mr. Hartley, I understand you're grieving. I understand you're desperate for answers. But these questions, what exactly are you accusing me of?" "I'm not accusing—" "Because it sounds like you are. It sounds like you're questioning my integrity based on—" "What? A routine supply run? Career moves that are perfectly normal in modern medicine?" Nathan's hand was shaking. The controlled anger in Dr. Kellner's voice was more unsettling than shouting would have been. "I just want to know what happened to my daughter." "What happened to your daughter is a tragedy, but I've told the police everything I know. Everything, 2 years ago. If you have new questions, perhaps you should direct them to Detective Walsh instead of harassing me at my office." "I'm not harassing—" "Aren't you? Calling me after hours, questioning my employment history, implying— God knows what you're implying." "I tried to help this morning. I came to the station out of respect for Mira's memory. And this is how you repay that kindness?" The line went dead. Dr. Kellner had hung up. Nathan sat staring at his phone, heart racing. The doctor's reaction had been so defensive, so immediate. Nothing about the conversation felt right. A truly innocent person would have been confused, maybe hurt, but not that cold fury, not that controlled anger. He looked back at his laptop screen at the trail of administrative issues across 5 hospitals, at his notes about the oxygen tanks, at the police interview where Dr. Kellner claimed to be home alone all night. His hands were still shaking as he picked up his phone again. He should call Detective Walsh, report the conversation, share what he'd found about the hospital history. But what if he was wrong? What if grief was making him paranoid, seeing patterns that weren't there? Nathan set the phone down. He needed to think, needed to be sure before he accused a respected physician of what? Buying oxygen tanks? Having a spotty employment history? But he couldn't shake the sound of Dr. Kellner's voice. That cold anger, that immediate defensiveness. Something was wrong. He was sure of it now. The question was, what was he going to do about it? Nathan paced his living room, debating whether to call Detective Walsh. The laptop remained open on the coffee table, Doctor. Kellner's employment history still displayed on the screen. He'd spent the last hour second-guessing himself. Maybe the doctor's anger was justified. Maybe Nathan was grasping at straws, seeing conspiracies where there were only coincidences. His phone buzzed, a text from Nicole. "Crazy busy here. 2 more nurses just called out. Might be later than expected. Don't wait up. Love you." He typed back, "Be safe. Love you too." Nathan was walking to the kitchen when headlights swept across the front windows. A car pulling into their driveway. He glanced at the clock, 7:48 p.m. They weren't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, he saw a familiar figure approaching the front door. Dr. Kellner, still in his gray suit from the pharmacy, though now disheveled. His movements seemed agitated, jerky. He kept glancing over his shoulder as he climbed the porch steps. Nathan's pulse quickened. Why was he here? How did he even know their address? The doorbell rang. Nathan didn't move. Maybe if he stayed quiet, the doctor would leave. "Mr. Hartley?" Dr. Kellner's voice carried through the door. "I know you're home. Your car's in the driveway. We need to talk about our phone conversation." Nathan remained frozen. Something about the doctor's tone, the way he'd said, "need to talk," set off every alarm in his head. "Please, Mr. Hartley, I want to apologize for hanging up. I was upset, but that's no excuse. Can we discuss this like civilized people?" The reasonable words didn't match the tension Nathan could hear underneath them. He backed away from the door, reaching for his cell phone. "I can see your shadow under the door, Nathan." The use of his first name felt wrong, too familiar. "Open the door. We need to clear this up before you do something we'll both regret." Nathan's thumb hovered over Detective Walsh's number in his contacts. But before he could dial, he heard something that made his blood run cold, the distinctive click of the doorknob turning. He'd forgotten to lock it after bringing in the mail earlier. The door swung open, and Dr. Kellner stepped inside, closing it behind him with deliberate care. Up close, Nathan could see the sheen of sweat on his forehead, the way his right hand remained in his suit jacket pocket. "I asked nicely, Doctor," Kellner said, his voice still maintaining that forced calm. "But you weren't going to let me in, were you?" "You need to leave." Nathan took another step back. "This is breaking and entering." The door was unlocked. I'm just a concerned physician checking on a distraught parent. The doctor's eyes flicked to the laptop on the coffee table, taking in the screen. "Been doing more research, I see. Finding more patterns in my career? Get out of my house." "Can't do that." Dr. Kellner withdrew his hand from his pocket, revealing a compact black pistol, not pointing it exactly, but holding it in a way that made the threat clear. "We're going to take a drive, you and I, away from prying eyes and nosy neighbors." Nathan's mouth went dry. "You took her. You took Mira." "Get in the car." The gun rose slightly. "You're going to walk to the door. You're going to get in my car. You're going to do it quietly. If you shout, if you run, if you do anything stupid, I'll have to hurt you. And then I'll wait for Nicole to come home from her shift. You mentioned she's working late tonight. Plenty of time for me to be here when she arrives." The threat against Nicole made Nathan's decision. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere private. Now move." Nathan walked to the door on unsteady legs. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet, a typical Tuesday evening. The Johnsons' house across the street had lights on, but their curtains were drawn. No one to see them, no one to witness this. Dr. Kellner's car was a silver Honda Accord, unremarkable in every way. "Get in the passenger side, hands where I can see them." Nathan complied, his mind racing. Should he try to run? But the gun was trained on him as doctor. Kellner circled to the driver's side, and that threat about Nicole. "Seat belt," Dr. Kellner ordered as he started the engine. The gun rested on his lap, barrel angled toward Nathan. "Don't want to get pulled over for something stupid." They backed out of the driveway, and Nathan caught a glimpse of his house, porch light on, looking perfectly normal. No sign of the violence that had just occurred there. "You saw me at the pharmacy," Dr. Kellner said, as they turned onto the main road. "That was careless of me. Should have been more careful, but I was running low on supplies." Nathan's heart skipped. "Supplies for what?" "Shut up." The doctor's calm facade was cracking. "You couldn't just leave it alone. The wheelchair should have been the end of it. Case closed. Everyone moves on. But you had to dig, had to ask questions." "Where is Mira?" Dr. Kellner's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "You think you were such a good father, leaving a sick 3-year-old alone in that hospital? Some protector you were?" "Is she alive?" "Stop talking." They were heading out of the city now, toward the rural areas east of Pittsburgh. "You have no idea what you've done, no idea what you've ruined." Nathan tried to memorize the route, looking for landmarks. They passed the old Westinghouse plant, crossed the bridge over Turtle Creek, heading toward the Laurel Highlands, where the forests grew thick and houses became scarce. "Those hospital suspensions," Nathan said, desperate to understand. "They figured something out, didn't they? That's why you kept moving." "They suspected, could never prove anything, always watching, always questioning, making my work impossible." "What work? What were you doing?" Dr. Kellner's laugh was bitter. "You wouldn't understand. No one understands. They see a doctor being thorough, spending extra time with patients, and they make it into something ugly." The words chilled Nathan. The implication behind them, the defensive tone, pieces clicking into place in horrible ways. They turned off the main highway onto a secondary road, then onto barely paved back roads. Nathan's phone was still in his pocket. Could he secretly dial 911? But Dr. Kellner must have had the same thought. "Throw your phone out the window." "What? Now?" The gun rose. "Or I'll take it from you after I shoot you in the leg." Nathan powered down his phone and tossed it into the darkness. His last connection to help disappeared into the Pennsylvania forest. "Good." Dr. Kellner relaxed slightly. "We're almost there, then you'll understand everything. Maybe you'll even realize this is partly your fault." "My fault?" "You left her alone, vulnerable. If you'd been there that night like a real father should have been, none of this would have happened. But you were home, comfortable in your bed, while she needed protection." They turned onto a dirt road, headlights illuminating dense trees on either side. Somewhere ahead was the answer to 2 years of questions. Nathan just prayed he'd live long enough to find out. "She trusted me," Dr. Kellner said quietly, almost to himself. "That's the tragedy in all this. She trusted me completely." The words sent ice through Nathan's veins. Whatever had happened to Mira, whatever this man had done, it was worse than just kidnapping. The way he spoke about trust, about being thorough with patients, about people making things ugly, Nathan was beginning to understand the true horror of what his daughter had endured. The dirt road ended at a modest cabin nestled among towering pines. Motion sensor lights flickered on as they approached, illuminating a structure that looked deceptively normal. Wood siding, stone chimney, the kind of weekend retreat thousands of Pennsylvanians owned. A generator hummed somewhere behind the building. "Out!" Dr. Kellner ordered, killing the engine. Nathan stepped into the cool mountain air, his legs unsteady after the tense drive. The isolation was complete. No neighboring lights visible through the trees, no sounds except the generator and distant crickets. Even if he screamed, no one would hear. Dr. Kellner came around the car, gun steady. "Inside. Try to run, and I'll put a bullet in your knee. You don't need to walk to see what I'm going to show you." The front door opened into a living room that smelled of pine wood and antiseptic. Basic furniture, a fieldstone fireplace, stairs leading up. But Nathan's attention was drawn to the medical equipment stacked along one wall, boxes of supplies, an oxygen concentrator, IV poles. "Upstairs," Dr. Kellner directed. They climbed narrow wooden steps to a hallway with 3 doors. The doctor guided him to the last one, producing a key from his pocket. Multiple locks, Nathan noticed, deadbolts installed from the outside. The door swung open, revealing a converted attic room. And there, sitting on a small bed with an oxygen cannula under her nose, was Mira. Nathan's knees nearly buckled. His daughter, alive, but changed. She'd grown in 2 years, of course, taller, thinner, her blonde hair longer and tangled. She wore a faded hospital gown, too small for her now 5-year-old frame. An IV port was visible on her arm, though no line was currently attached. "Mira?" The word came out as a broken whisper. She looked up from a coloring book, her blue eyes, so like Nicole's, showing no recognition, just confusion and a hint of fear. "Doctor? Martin? Who's that man?" "Dr. Martin." She called him doctor. "Martin." "It's okay, sweetheart," Dr. Kellner said, his voice taking on a different quality, gentle, paternal. "This is someone who wanted to meet you. Remember how I told you there might be visitors someday?" Mira shrank back against the wall. "I don't like visitors. You said visitors might try to take me away. You said they're bad people who don't understand." Nathan started forward instinctively, but the gun barrel pressing into his ribs stopped him. "That's my daughter, you sick—" "Your daughter?" Dr. Kellner's voice hardened. "You gave up that right when you abandoned her." "You kidnapped her?" "I gave her a home, kept her safe for 2 years, while you, what, moved on with your life?" Nathan looked around the room properly now, taking in the details. Medical equipment filled one corner, the oxygen concentrator he'd heard running, boxes of medications, the portable tanks like the ones from the pharmacy. A small dresser held children's clothes. Drawings covered the walls, all signed Mira in a child scrawl. Pictures of a house, trees, birds, and over, a figure labeled Doctor. Martin with a smiling face. No pictures of parents, no drawings of Mommy or Daddy. "What did you tell her?" Nathan's voice was hollow. "The truth from a certain perspective, that she was very sick and needed special care, that I'm the only one who understands her needs, that there are people who might try to interfere." "You've brainwashed her?" "I've protected her." Dr. Kellner's composure was cracking. "Do you know how fragile she is? How carefully her condition needs to be managed? You left her alone that night, alone." The nurses were overwhelmed, always are. Too many patients, not enough time. But I had time. I made time. His eyes took on a distant quality. She was special, different from the others, so trusting, so sweet, when she'd smile at me during treatments. The way he said it made Nathan's skin crawl. "What did you do to her?" "I cared for her, fed her, gave her medications, held her when she cried." The gun wavered slightly. "She needed me, still needs me." "Mira," Nathan tried again, his voice gentle. "Sweetheart, it's Daddy. Don't you remember me?" The little girl tilted her head, studying him. For a moment something flickered in her eyes. Then she shook her head firmly. "My daddy went to heaven. Dr. Martin told me. He got sick and went to heaven with Mommy." The cruelty of the lie hit Nathan like a physical blow. "You told her we were dead?" It was easier than other explanations. Kinder, really. Kinder than what? But Nathan was beginning to understand. The locks on the door, the way Mira called him Doctor, Martin, maintaining that professional distance even after 2 years. The defensive anger when questioned about his time with patients. A sound from outside cut through the tension, tires on gravel, approaching fast. Multiple vehicles. Dr. Kellner moved to the small attic window, peering through the curtain. His face went pale. How? You threw away your phone? Nathan felt a surge of hope. Nicole. She must have come home, found signs of a struggle, called the police. His brilliant, observant wife. Mira, get in the closet, Dr. Kellner ordered, his calm shattering. Remember what we practiced? Hide until I say it's safe. Are the bad people here? Mira's voice was small, terrified. She scrambled off the bed, hurrying to a small closet. The practiced way she did it, the immediate obedience, showed this wasn't the first time she'd been told to hide. Outside, Nathan could hear car doors slamming, radio chatter, a voice amplified by megaphone. Doctor. Martin Kellner, this is the Pennsylvania State Police. We have the building surrounded. Exit with your hands visible. You've ruined everything, Dr. Kellner snarled at Nathan. Everything I've built here. She was happy. She was safe. From what? What was she safe from? From people who don't understand, from a system that sees everything as black and white. The doctor moved to the window again, gun still trained on Nathan. They'll twist everything, make it into something disgusting. The police repeated their demand. Dr. Kellner paced the small room like a caged animal. 2 years. 2 years of keeping her healthy, giving her what she needed, and you had to destroy it. Dr. Kellner, the megaphone voice again. We know Nathan Hartley is inside. We know Mira is alive. Let's resolve this peacefully. Send out the child. From the closet came a small whimper. Nathan's heart broke at the sound. His daughter, terrified, hiding from police who were there to save her. She won't survive without me, Dr. Kellner said, but the fight was draining from his voice. I know her needs, every medication, every treatment, the little things that comfort her when she's scared. She needs her parents, her real parents. Real parents don't leave sick children alone in hospitals. The gun wavered. Real parents don't trust strangers with their most precious. He cut himself off, jaw clenching. The house phone rang, an old landline on the dresser. Dr. Kellner stared at it, then gestured for Nathan to answer. Speakerphone. Nathan hit the button. Hello? Mr. Hartley? A woman's voice, calm and professional. This is Lieutenant Sarah Foster with the State Police. Are you injured? Number. We're both okay. Mira's here. She's alive. That's wonderful news. We're going to get you all out safely. Can I speak with Dr. Kellner? The doctor leaned toward the phone, gun still pointed at Nathan, but his hand shaking now. She won't understand. 2 years of routine, of trust. You'll destroy all of it. Doctor, we have pediatric specialists standing by. They'll ensure Mira receives the best care. You've kept her alive this long. Help us continue that care properly. Properly? His voice cracked with bitter laughter. You have no idea what proper care means. The time it takes, the patience, the special bond required. We understand you care about her, Doctor. Show that care now by letting her get help. Dr. Kellner's face crumpled. The gun lowered slowly. She calls me Daddy sometimes, when she's scared, when she needs comfort. Did he tell you that? Come outside, Doctor. Let Mira be reunited with her family. Family? The word came out like poison. They don't deserve her. They never did. But the gun clattered to the floor. Dr. Kellner walked to the closet, kneeling beside it. Mira, the people outside are going to take you to a hospital, a new hospital. I don't want to go. Her voice was muffled, scared. I want to stay with you. You promised we'd always be together. I know, sweetheart, but sometimes... Sometimes things change." His voice broke. "You're going to be okay. You're such a brave girl. My brave girl." He stood, hands raised, and walked toward the door. At the threshold he paused, looking back at Nathan with undisguised hatred. "You have no idea what you've taken from her, from both of us." Then he was gone, heavy footsteps on the stairs. Nathan heard the front door open, multiple voices shouting commands. Through the window he could see Dr. Kellner on his knees in the dirt, officers surrounding him. "Mira?" Nathan approached the closet slowly. "It's okay now. You can come out." The door opened a crack. One blue eye peered out at him, filled with tears and confusion. "Are you really my daddy? Dr. Martin said you went to heaven?" Nathan knelt beside the closet, his own tears flowing freely. "I'm really your daddy, and I've been looking for you for such a long time." "But Dr. Martin said, he said—" Her small voice trembled. "He said he's the only one who loves me right, that other people would hurt me." The words were a knife to Nathan's heart. Whatever Dr. Kellner had done to his daughter, the psychological chains were as strong as any physical locks. But she was alive. After 2 years of not knowing, she was alive. "No one's going to hurt you," Nathan promised. "We're going to take care of you. Your real mommy and daddy." Police officers appeared in the doorway, moving carefully, speaking in soft voices. One female officer approached slowly. "Hi, Mira. I'm Officer Jamie. We're going to take you to see some nice doctors who will make sure you're feeling okay. Would that be all right?" Mira looked between Nathan and the officer, her 5-year-old face etched with confusion and fear. "Is Dr. Martin coming too?" "Doctor." "Martin needs to go somewhere else right now," Officer Jamie said gently. "But you'll be safe. I promise." As they coaxed Mira from the closet, Nathan noticed how she kept looking toward the window, searching for the man who'd held her captive for 2 years. The man she still trusted more than anyone else in the world. Whatever Dr. Kellner had done to gain that trust, Nathan was certain it was worse than just kidnapping. The truth would come out eventually. But for now, his daughter was alive, and that had to be enough. The pediatric ICU at UPMC Children's Hospital felt both familiar and foreign to Nathan. Same antiseptic smell, same beeping monitors, but now it was Mira in the bed, not him visiting her. She lay still, sedated lightly to manage her anxiety, oxygen flowing through the cannula. Her small hand rested in his, though she'd pulled away when she was awake. Nicole sat on the other side of the bed, her eyes red from crying. She'd arrived at the hospital shortly after the ambulance, having been the one to alert police when she'd come home to find Nathan's laptop open to Dr. Kellner's employment history and signs of a struggle. The front door ajar, Nathan's car still in the driveway. Detective Walsh had acted quickly once Nicole identified Dr. Kellner as the likely suspect. A property record search revealed he owned a cabin in the Laurel Highlands, listed as a secondary address in his hospital employment file. State troopers familiar with the area knew the remote location. They'd coordinated with local units who'd hiked the area before, racing against time to reach the isolated property before it was too late. Detective Walsh entered quietly, a folder in her hand. "How is she?" "Stable," Nicole answered, her nurse's training keeping her voice clinical. "Her lung function has deteriorated. The pulmonologist thinks it's from inconsistent treatment. Sometimes he gave her proper medication. Other times he missed doses or gave incorrect amounts." "I have Dr. Kellner's confession," Detective Walsh said, pulling up a chair. "He's been in interrogation for 3 hours. You need to know the truth, but it's difficult." Nathan nodded, steeling himself. Dr. Kellner admitted to inappropriate contact with Mira during her hospital stay 2 years ago. It started gradually. He spent extra time with her, gained her trust and yours. He told her the touching was part of special treatments to make her better. She was 3. She believed him. Nathan felt nauseous. Nicole's hand found his across Mira's bed. It went on for months, Detective Walsh continued, her voice professional but tinged with disgust. He said Mira was starting to resist, asking why other doctors didn't do the same special treatments. She'd mentioned wanting to tell Mommy about the games that felt weird. He panicked. "So he took her," Nicole whispered. "The night she disappeared, he used his key card to re-enter through a service entrance. The cameras there had been broken for weeks. He knew because he'd been the one to damage them, making it look like wear and tear. He gave Mira a sedative, told her they were going somewhere special to get better. Wheeled her right out through the loading dock." Nathan's hands clenched, all those nights wondering what had happened, and the truth was worse than any nightmare he'd imagined. At the cabin, he continued the abuse, told her that her parents had died, that he was the only one who could take care of her now. Classic grooming behavior, isolation, dependency, normalized abuse disguised as care or love. "The wheelchair," Nicole asked, her voice shaking. "Why dump it now?" His colleagues at UPMC were getting suspicious, not about Mira, about missing supplies. He'd been stealing medications and equipment for 2 years to treat her. HR was building a case. He knew it was time to run but couldn't take identifiable equipment. He planned to relocate with her, start fresh somewhere else. Detective Walsh turned a page. Given his employment history, the pattern of administrative issues at multiple hospitals, we suspect there may have been other victims over the years. Children who were too young or too scared to report inappropriate conduct during examinations. We'll be reaching out to his former hospitals, but these cases, they often go unreported. Nathan closed his eyes. More victims. "What else did he say?" Nicole asked. "About what he was planning?" Detective Walsh consulted her notes. He admitted that initially, that first night, he'd intended to kill her. He was terrified she'd tell someone about the abuse. But once he had her at the cabin, he couldn't do it. He kept her instead, continued the abuse. He said he always knew it would end badly, but couldn't stop himself. "God," Nathan breathed. His baby girl had been hours from death that night 2 years ago, saved only by her abuser's cowardice. "He documented everything medical," Detective Walsh added. "Not the abuse, he's not stupid, but detailed logs of her treatments, medications, growth charts, even videos of what he called their life together. Birthday parties, her playing in the cabin, all carefully edited to look normal if anyone ever found them." "Will she remember the truth?" Nathan asked. "What he did to her? What we meant to her before?" The psychiatrist says memories from age 3 are often fragmented, but not gone. With proper therapy, she may recover some memories of you. As for the abuse, that trauma is likely to surface eventually. She'll need extensive therapy to process what happened and understand it wasn't her fault. A nurse entered with evening medications. "Her protocol is complex," she said gently, "but we have his medical records to work from. We can keep her stable while we develop a proper treatment plan." Nathan watched the medications flow through Mira's IV. His daughter, alive but carrying scars he couldn't see. "He keeps insisting in interrogation that he loved her," Detective Walsh said as she prepared to leave. "That what they had was a special, and we're destroying it. Claims you'll never understand the bond they shared." She shook her head in disgust. Typical predator trying to romanticize abuse. "What exactly did he plan to do?" Nicole asked. "If he hadn't been caught?" "He was going to take her to another state, start over with new identities. He had fake documents prepared, birth certificate showing him as her father, medical records under a false name." "When she got older?" Walsh paused. He admitted he knew eventually she'd either remember too much or age out of his preference. He said when that time came, he'd handle it. We believe that means he would have killed her eventually. After the detective left, Nathan and Nicole sat in silence, watching their daughter breathe. Tomorrow would bring the beginning of a long journey. Medical treatments, trauma therapy, the delicate process of helping Mira understand that the man she'd trusted had hurt her, that her real parents had never stopped looking for her. "She's alive," Nicole whispered finally. "That's what we hold on to. She's alive, she's safe now, and we'll help her heal." Nathan nodded, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. His little girl had endured 2 years of hell disguised as care. But she was strong. The same strength that helped her fight cystic fibrosis would help her overcome this trauma. They would make sure of it. The monitors beeped steadily, marking each breath, each heartbeat. Proof of life. Proof that, despite everything, their daughter had survived. And proof that the monster who'd stolen 2 years of her childhood would never touch her again.